good work on building that angle promotion there, those pages, or at least that one page I showed you how to build an unbounce. So now that we have all the assets created, let's add this to the campaign in Infusionsoft. Now, again, to reiterate, I'm showing you how to do this in Infusionsoft because that's what I personally use and recommend. You can have similar functionality in Aweber, maybe not with the WYSIWYG graphic interface, but at least in functionality if you use Aweber along with AW Pro tools. So you certainly are not beholden to Infusionsoft. The choice is yours. But since I use and recommend Infusionsoft, I'm also a trusted advisor for that company, obviously I'm going to show you how to do it with them. So this is what we've built so far. If you recall, we built your reminder sequence to get them to consume our Goodwill videos. And because we're going to start adding more to your funnel, I'm going to change the way this is built. So we have right here a tag where, well, let me walk you through a refresher of how everything worked. They opted in. We're going to send them 3 reminders, here they are, to go watch the very first video. As soon as they click the link to go watch the first video, they will stop getting this reminder series and they will start getting the Goodwill series. Now, from a design perspective within Infusionsoft, we don't actually have to have these 2 separate lines. So what I can do is I can get rid of this guy and I can move this guy out of the way for a minute. And what I'll do is I'm going to drag this clicked link thing down here, and then I'm going to drag this Goodwill series up here, and I'm going to connect them like so. So now it's all part of one campaign, which has always been part of one campaign. This is just a little bit easier for us to follow visually. All right, now we have another thing. What if they never click this link? Well, now we're going to put them into the angle series. Right? So in order to do that, the first thing we need to do is we need to put a sequence down here. So I'll put it right here, and I will call this the angle sequence, right? Angles sequence. So I'm just going to connect these. So what this means now is if the reader never clicks the link and never goes and sees the Goodwill series, then he is going to be placed into the angles series. Right? So very, very simple. Really, really easy to do. Now, we can also sort of add these guys together and say, all right, but if he never buys from the Goodwill series, we can also place him in this angles series. Right? So now we have a closed loop. So if he doesn't click to join the Goodwill series, he's in angles. If he never buys from the Goodwill series, he's in angles, right? And we can do this with anything. We can do this with a second Goodwill series. It doesn't matter. Now, what do we want to do? What is going to be our thing, our goal that will stop the angle series from firing? In the example I showed you, I had them registering for a webinar. But let's say you don't want to do a webinar. Let's say you want your angle series just to lead people back to your sales letter or sales video. Well, logically then, the minute they purchase, then he should be taken out of this angle series. So how do we do that? Simple. We just connect this with Infusionsoft and say, okay, the minute he purchases here, he's no longer going to get this angles series. And in fact, to make this kind of easier to look at visually, I can just sort of drag these 2 elements over, and that will, and I can even drag this guy down if I want to, and that'll sort of make everything easier to follow, right? So now all we have to do, now that we've built the architecture, which obviously, as you saw there, just took a few seconds, all we need to do is now build the email sequence that drives them to the first angles content piece. So let me show you how to do that. And this part's going to be really, really easy to pop these emails in there. So what we have here, if they haven't clicked the link and gone to the old Goodwill series, then it's time to send them the angles sequence, right? So what we're going to do is open up this sequence, and what's the first thing we should add? Now, instinctively, we want to say, well, dude, we're going to send them an email, right? But check this out. If we do that, then what's going to happen? They're just going to wait a day. We're over here in the original reminder sequence. They're going to get email number 3, and then if we go straight into the angle sequence and send them an email, boom, they're going to get an email instantly right after email number 3. So logically, therefore, we need to tell it before sending that first email, whoops, there we go, before sending that first email, we need to wait a little bit. And however long you want to wait, right? So if they haven't clicked the reminder sequence, let's give them a day, and let's send them email number 1. So you know how to do it. We'll say wait 1 day. We'll run on any day. We'll run it at 10 a.m. Eastern, and there you go. Now it's time to place the little email in there. And this is really, the more we build in these things, the easier our job becomes. And the reason why is because we've already done so much of the work. For example, hang on, let me connect these guys. I always want to connect your pieces of the puzzle. Let me name it too. We'll say angle number 1, email number 1. So we'll call this guy. So notice we've already built like an email campaign in this campaign, right? With our reminder sequence and our goodwill campaign. So all we got to do is when we want to open up this email and start creating it by double clicking, remember, we just go to email instead of having to do all this reformatting and stuff. We just simply say copy from campaign, and I'll say, whoops, where are you? List class demo, and I will simply say whichever one we want to do. Reminder number 1 is fine. Remember, this is all nice and easy for us, right? Nice and simple, nice and formatted. So I'll get rid of this image. And I will now share with you a little something I created for you to make our jobs that much easier. I've built the swipe file for you, which you can see here. And this is the swipe file that I used for this specific Angles campaign, which incidentally, the emails, these 2 emails, ended up driving just a hair over 10,000 visitors to that article, by the way that I showed you. So it's working fairly well. So email number 1, I won't put the same, well, actually, I'll put the same subject in there just to show you how to recreate it, right? So right over here, I'll just paste my subject. Now, obviously, you're not going to use this exact email because you're not sending them to a stealth selling article. So the reason that I'm including this is just to give you the framework and the idea of what your article should look like, right? So there we go. Had to get my swipe file back up here. I'll just paste this in, and then I'll go over what the copy is all about, right? So literally, I just hit copy, and because I've already got their first name primed up there, I'll just go ahead and hit paste, right? So now it says, hi, Bob, I just wrote this new tutorial for you. It's a quick article on how to create content like blog posts, articles, reports, Facebooks, updates, etc. that sell. Now notice the tone of this. It is extremely friendly, right? I just wrote this new tutorial, what? For you. It's a quick article on how to do something you want to do. You can read it and get the whole concept here. It takes maybe 2 minutes. Enjoy, Frank. Now, see, nothing pushy about that at all. Nothing uncool. My list isn't mad at me for sending them this. They're not feeling bombarded. Even when I mail them tomorrow, if they didn't click, they're still going to click right crazy. Now, remember how many clicks I told you this got? Over 10,000, right? Just from these 2 little emails in this one little sequence here for this part of the campaign. So obviously this very, very friendly style of writing works. Now, when I give you the swipe file, you'll see some of the things that should be hyperlinked are bolded, right? You don't have to have them bolded in your campaign if you don't want to. I just literally did that just so you would know that those words were hyperlinked to the actual article. So let me pull that article page up for you, and we can just copy and paste the URL in here. There it is. Lovely. By the way, let's have a look and see how many more people liked it. I'm still getting lots of comments on this thing. 117 of them. Do reverse chronological so we can see what folks are saying. Look at there. Great article. I love to read it again and again. You rock consistently. Everything works fine for me. I'm killing it offline, but this looks like it could easily transition over, right? So very, very good, Frank. This is awesome. Very clever. Love your articles. So this is what you want. This is the type of response you want to your promotions, right? Because make no mistake about it, this article is a promotion. By the way, guess how many webinar registrants I've received now as a result of this puppy? 3,000 and change, right? You think that's going to make some money? Heck yeah. So all the pieces of the puzzle are fitting here. Remember our 3 criteria, right? The more offers we send, the more value we provide, and the more goodwill. Well, this is exactly what this campaign does. So I have, let me make sure I copy this URL. That's why I pulled it up there for you in the first place. And now I'll just show you how to hyperlink this. So I just wrote this new tutorial for you. So I'm going to hyperlink the words new tutorial. I don't think that's hyperlinked in the swipe file, but I should have done it. Now I'll just paste that in there. Boom. Now, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to create a tag here because I want to make it where if they click it, I don't want them to get tomorrow's email sending them to the same article, right? So I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to click it, and I am going to create a tag. So let's have this one called Angles Campaign number 1, clicked email. If I could just type email number 1, okay? So I'll say create that, and then we're good, we're done, and then boom. So now that applies that tag. So as soon as they click it, they're tagged. Now again, I'm setting all this stuff up to work while I'm out playing golf or surfing. So that's why I'm taking this little extra step here, because if they click it, they're not going to get tomorrow's email, right? They might get the angle number 2 email if they don't buy. So let's go on, and I'll just do this one more time. No need to watch me hyperlink every single one of those. It's a quick article. Well, actually, I'll say I'll hyperlink all of this part. So we'll click on link, a little paste, a little tag, and here we go, boom, and done, and insert. Okay, cool. So that's how we do that, right? I'm going to click this from draft to ready, and I'm going to go back to the sequence. Now that guy's ready to rumble. Now, because I've created that tag, let's add a little extra layer of ninja over here. Let's stop this. Let's set a goal here as if they click the link, right? So if they click to go watch that, I don't want them to get this sequence anymore. You know what I mean? I want them to go to a different sequence or something. So we build that different sequence later, but let's just stop it if they click the link. That way we can email them multiple times, not worry about making the guys mad who already clicked it. So I'll drag this other over here. Alrighty. And I'll name it clicked angle number 1. Okay. And then I will, that's good. I will double click it here to edit the tag, and I will just type angles. There we go. Click, save. Okay. And I'll connect these guys. And I'll kind of make this look a little more symmetrically aligned. There we go. So if they click this, they're not getting these other emails, right? We can tell them, we can make something else happen after the fact. It doesn't matter, but let's just protect these guys from getting bombarded because we don't want them to get mad at us. All right, so let me go back over here. And now what happens? Well, we sent them this email and they didn't click. Logically, we should send them another one. So we're going to add ourselves one of these fancy delay timers right here. And we're going to wait 24 hours or 1 day. Same thing. According to the last science book I read, we're going to set it at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Click on save, connect the dots up on her, and we're going to do it all again. So I'll drag this email over here. I'll connect the dots. It's like that game Connect 4 we used to play when we were kids, right? And I'll call this angle number 1, email number 2. Perfect. Okay? And I will open this dude, and I will do more of the same. So I'll just fly through this. In fact, I'll pause it so you don't have to watch me doing the same stuff repeatedly. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'll just change this email. So I'm on email number 2 of the swipe file. Notice the subject line is simply read this. Boy, did that sucker ever work well. All right, so I'll paste that in there, paste, and then I'll come over here and I'll just swipe the body copy. There's a classic stealth selling example. You'll love it. It's fantastic. Let me know how you like it. I'll just hit copy right there. And I will simply paste right under here. And I'll make a little line break so it doesn't look weird. There we go. And I'll just do one hyperlink here. And let me do it properly just so you can, again. Now, why would I do what I'm about to do, right? So I'm going to make this a link. Hang on. I've got to get my URL. I've got to recopy that URL. There we go. I'm going to make this a link. And I'm going to say, go to that article. What are we going to do right here? We're going to tag them, right? Because we want to track really everything. We want to track everything these guys do. So I'll say done, update. So again, I'm just tagging these guys as clicked angle number 1. All right, I'll go over here to ready. And the reason I'm going to do that is because if they click angle number 1, they're taken out of this campaign. So I could add another email to this if I want to. And they're now not taken out of the campaign, taken out of this sequence, and they're added to another sequence, right? So what could that sequence be? Well, remember, we have one goal of this is if they buy, we're not sending them any more angles, right? So what if they click angle number 1, but they don't buy? Well, they're going to go into, logically, angle number 2, right? So, gosh, I showed you 10 different angles. You could literally have 10 different steps like this in your funnel. Now, what I recommend is you switch it up a little bit, right? You might do an angle, and then you might do a sale or something, or another angle of goodwill. Then you might do a sale. Then you might do another traditional angle or something like that, right? So really the sky is the limit. But that's how we start building these things. And as we keep going through this course, your overall campaign now here that happens when someone opts in to the end of the time is really going to be beautiful, right? We're going to have all these cool sequences, and all this stuff is going to be happening based on their behavior, right? So now we've got these guys. They've clicked your angle sequence, and they're ready to rumble, right? So we can say if they buy, we're not going to bother them. Obviously, we're going to put another campaign behind this for back end. We'll do that later, but there's so much more we can do to get them to buy, right? So what's the next step? What do we do if they don't buy? Well, in the next video, what I like to do for you is show you now something that I call a countdown sequence. And the countdown sequence was pioneered way back in the day, all the way back years and years ago, around 2007, when I created something called the 4-day cash machine. And basically what this does is it applies a deadline to purchase, and it applies new bonuses as that deadline grows near, right? So in my next video, I'll show you how that works. I'll give you an overview of it. I'll walk you through the original 4-day cash machine as an example of a countdown sequence. Then I'll show you how to build this in your CRM system, and I'll even show you how to make the offer expire so they can't come back after the deadline and order. They'll get a different page altogether. Sound cool? All right, let's get cracking. Good job sticking with me this far. You ain't seen nothing yet. We are really building a beautiful masterpiece. And if we just do each and every one of these little steps, man, I tell you what, by the time the guy comes in here and he ends up over here, you have built the most beautiful thing. And your whole job is this going to be sticking people in here. Because once we've built all this, it's all automatic. It's all autopilot. You don't have to mess with it every day. All you do is get leads, drive traffic, get leads, and check your stats. I like to do it from the golf course on my cell phone, which is frowned upon, really, but I do it anyway. All right. By the way, almost forgot to turn this part of the sequence on. There we go. So as always, you always want to publish everything. You want to publish your work here at Infusionsoft. That turns it on and makes it live. So now we've got something beautiful, but we're just at the beginning. I'll see you in the next video where we start doing the countdown sequence. All right. See you then.